From the quiet fields, where the wind carries more than whispers, and the soil remembers every drop that's ever fed it. This is Night Harvest. Tonight's story is Thorns Beneath the Moon.
The wind shivered through the cypress trees, carrying the scent of frost and forgotten prayers. Somewhere beyond the hills, a bell tolled once, twice, and then fell silent. The moon hung swollen and pale above the ruins of St. Ilara's Abbey, its light spilling over a garden of roses that had no right to bloom in winter. Their crimson petals glowed against the snow, glistening as if dew or blood clung to them. A girl stepped through the iron gate. Her cloak was frayed, her boots worn thin from nights on the run. Her name was Lyra, last daughter of a fallen crown. She carried nothing but a satchel, a dagger, and a hope as fragile as candlelight. She had heard the rumors about this place and where ghosts whispered and sins slept in stone, but she hadn't come seeking ghosts. She had come to disappear. The roses leaned toward her as she passed, as though drawn by her warmth. When she knelt and touched one, she felt it pulse softly beneath her fingertips, as if alive. A voice came from the shadows. "They bleed for the moon, not the sun." Lyra spun, dagger raised. A man stood at the edge of the archway, tall and still, wrapped in a coat the color of storm clouds. The moonlight cut across his face, revealing eyes the hue of dying embers, old fire, still smoldering. He didn't flinch at her weapon. Instead, he studied her as if he recognized something impossible. "Your hands," he said quietly. "You have her hands." "Whose?" she asked, lowering the blade a fraction. He said nothing. The snow whispered between them, and she thought she saw sadness move through his expression like a shadow across water. He offered her shelter in the ruined abbey. Within its crumbling walls, the air smelled of dust and candle wax, of roses that refused to die. He lit a small fire in a stone hearth and motioned for her to sit. When she thanked him, his gaze flickered. Surprise. Then something like grief. "Few have thanked me," he murmured. "Fewer still have lived to mean it." Before she could reply, he vanished into the darkness. Lyra ate alone, watching the flames crawl over the wood. A cracked mirror hung on the wall, its glass fogged with age. When she caught her reflection in it, she saw the room behind her, the table, the fire, the curling smoke. But not the man who had been standing only moments before. Snow deepened over the following days. The garden, strangely, did not fade beneath it. Lyra wrapped herself in an old cloak she found near the chapel and began tending the roses simply to pass the time. She noticed that whenever Kale, she had learned his name only by overhearing it whispered in the hall by some unseen voice, walked through the garden. The petals near him darkened and folded inward. One night she gathered her courage and asked why the flowers bloomed. He stood with his back to her, the wind tugging at his coat. "They were planted by someone I loved," he said softly. "Long before I learned what eternity costs." His voice carried both reverence and ruin. That night Lyra dreamed of another woman, a queen draped in crimson silk, standing in the same moonlit garden. A man cloaked in shadow knelt before her and kissed her palm. The roses around them turned white as bone. When Lyra woke, her cheeks were wet with tears she could not explain. A blizzard came roaring down from the mountains, shaking the abbey's bones. Lyra found Kale by the broken gate, his face lifted toward the falling snow. "You'll freeze out here," she told him. "I do not sleep," he answered quietly. "Not anymore." Something in his tone made her heart stumble. When she stepped closer, she noticed his reflection shimmer faintly in his eyes, but not in the glass of ice beside him. The stories she had heard as a child came crawling back from memory. "You're," she began. "A curse given form," he said, finishing for her. "I took blood to save love, and for that, I was condemned to watch that love die again and again." He turned his face away, ashamed, but she did not flee. "Then why help me?" she asked. "Because when I look at you," he said, voice raw, "I remember her." That night the storm carried another sound, the distant thunder of hoofbeats. Hunters, sent by the usurper king. Kale's eyes darkened. "Stay inside," he commanded. "Do not look for me." But Lyra could not obey. From a crack in the door, she saw torches flare in the snow. The men shouted her name, demanding her surrender. Kale stood before them like a shadow given flesh. When the first crossbow twanged, he moved faster than sight. The night exploded red. Wind screamed through the ruins. When it was over, the hunters lay silent among the drifts. Lyra ran to him, heart pounding. Kale knelt among the roses, thorns buried through his palms as though the garden itself were punishing him. "You can't keep saving everyone," she cried. "I was made to protect what remains of her line," he said hoarsely, "even if it kills me again." And then she understood. He had known who she was from the moment she stepped through the gate. She tore the thorns from his hands and pressed her palms to his, heedless of the blood. Her warmth met his cold skin. "If I carry her blood," she whispered, "then you've protected me long enough." "Let me protect you." His jaw tightened. "If I feed again, the curse will grow. You don't understand." "Then take only enough to live," she said. He hesitated. The night held its breath. Then his lips brushed her wrist, gentle, reverent, almost afraid. A sting, a rush of warmth, and the pain dissolved into something deeper, something that bound them beyond words. When he lifted his head, his eyes burned brighter than the stars. Morning crept over the mountains. For the first time in centuries, Kale stood in sunlight. It burned him, yet he smiled. Lyra slept among the roses, her pulse steady, her cheeks flushed with life. He whispered, "For her blood, for her heart, I am finally free." He stepped fully into the light. His skin caught fire like paper, and in moments, the wind carried him away. When Lyra woke, he was gone. Around her, the roses no longer bled. Petals drifted like snow across the frozen ground. But where he had stood, frost had melted, and a single green bud pushed through the earth, the first sign of spring. They say that when the moon rises over St. Ilara's Abbey, the roses still glow faintly red. Some claim it is the blood of a vampire who found peace. Others say it is the memory of a love that outlived death. Only one truth endures. Love, like a thorn, cuts deepest when it is real.
If you liked this story and want to hear more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and remember, some stories only grow in the dark. Good night, everyone.